Yo, welcome into the Fantasy Wildcard DFS show. I'm your host Kev. We've got the main man Mags with me tonight on the show. No Ali, he's too busy trick-or-treating. He's yet to win Moneymaker as well. But Mags, enough about Ali. How are you doing this evening, mate?
Yeah, man, I'm doing really, really good off the back of, not to toot our own horn, Kev, but we absolutely crushed it on the show last week, right?
We did. We absolutely smashed it from a show level, and I think that really was. I can't even speak, Mags, because essentially one of my best weeks in DFS I've had for the past couple of seasons. All I did was use players from our show sheet that we went through last week and end up winning the Moneymaker, which we do. Also, the Fantasy Game Day app, the big tournament there, 160 odd people came top 4 in that, all based on our picks. So I think we can be really proud of some of our picks we did last week. You smashed some guys. I think Gus Edwards was an absolute sublime pick in your flex spots and cash. I think I might pick like your Dak as well. So plenty to love. We're hoping to bring you the same success this week as last week, but I think we can be really, really proud of what we did last week. Pressure's on, but we are ready to deliver it again, and we're going to come straight in. We're going to be looking at week 9. We'll be guiding through the main slate over DraftKings. Highlighting each position, we're going to start with cash, which is all about popular plays, high ownership. You're only trying to beat half the people there, so your really obvious plays, but are good value as well. So kicking off at QB, Mags, who are you bringing us?
Yeah, this is like looking at the quarterbacks. It's an absolute dumpster fire, Kev. Like I can't lie. There's not a huge amount there, but there is a diamond in the rough, and it's Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson's been absolutely crushing it this year. You can get Lamar for 8,200 going up against the Seattle Seahawks. I expect him to be the highest scoring quarterback on the slate there. Not much to say really about him, right? He's just been crushing it. He's been playing really, really well. I expect him to continue that up against the Seahawks. And if you're not wanting to spend as much on that, I think maybe just attack that same matchup and flip it and go for Geno Smith, who's going up against the Baltimore Ravens. He's significantly cheaper at only 6,000. I know Geno's not been playing amazingly, but when you've got arguably the best wide receiver core in the NFL at your disposal, I think 6,000 is a great amount to pay for Geno Smith.
Yeah, I love you've picked it 2 QBs from the same game as well. It's a game that has the potential to be an explosive game. I think you can be really confident with how popular it'll be, the weapons they've got, the output they've got as well on that pick. And like you said, this week's a strange one. We've gone from a massive slate to a 10 slate game. So not going to spoil the show, but it does make it interesting when you're thinking about your player pool and who you're going to consider for cash and who you're going to consider for GPPs as well. But love those picks. I think in terms of running backs, which is where I'm going to go, a popular name, a guy that if you've listened to the Dynasty show, which will be the night before this one, Alvin Kamara is a guy that we're massively in on. He's 8,100. They've got the Bears, which has been really, really positive for running backs this season. I think he's someone that, even despite Taysom Hill being that despicable mess taking points away from him, he's crushing it. He's so safe. He's got such a high floor, such high ceiling as well. I could have picked him for GPP easily, but I've gone for the cash route as someone that's going to be really popular. The alternative is Rachaad White, 5,600 at the Texans. Not necessarily because people are going to be in on him, because Texans are playing pretty decent, but it's more of the volume, the workload that he's getting, which at the moment, 15, 20 touches is a given. He had that nice breakout game against the Bills where he got, I think, either 7 or 9 receptions. Really strong output, meaning he's game script proof. He's steady, he's solid, he's reliable. He's someone that's had, 9-10 days rest to prepare for this as well. So it's at Houston. I expect Houston to be favourites in that game and to dictate that. So if they are playing from behind, no worries there. I don't think he's the 100 yards, 2 touchdown type you need really, but in cash, you're just wanting that volume. You're wanting someone that's going to get you a solid 15 points from that spot.
Yeah, absolutely spot on, Kev. I think even though, especially with Rachaad White, maybe not the most glamorous name, but he is is quite cheap, and you're right, you're just looking for someone who's going to get that job done for you. And I think at that price, he should be okay, right?
Indeed. And speaking about getting a job done, we're going on to cash wide receivers. The first guy you're going to talk about, he's been getting a job done for the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, man, you can't not put AJ Brown in the team. I think we even suggested him last week, and even though like I talked about the quarterbacks earlier, it's like, well, why didn't you put Jalen Hurts in? It's always funny with these big rivalries, right? You never really know what's going to happen. But I just know I'm not putting AJ Brown in this lineup. The guy is literally a record breaker now in the NFL. Going right up there with the great Calvin Johnson for his output in the last couple of weeks. So 8,600 against Dallas, I'll put him in definitely for sure. He'll be well up for that. But if you're looking for a cheaper option, I really like this 6,600 Michael Pittman Jr. going up against the absolutely horrendous Carolina Panthers. Even though they won last week, they're so bad. He seems to be Gardner Minshew's favorite target. Minshew, for as much people talk about him, he's an NFL standard quarterback, and Michael Pittman's going to be his favorite target. And I don't think anyone of the Panthers can guard him, so I think he should have a good week.
Yeah, it's I think really interesting with AJ Brown. I think this divisional rivalry game with the Eagles Cowboys, it might put people off because Dallas have got that elite defense that scores touchdowns and makes it difficult. But treat it like a playoff game. When it's like we said on last week's show, Bengals are treating San Fran as a playoff game. We tipped up Jamar Chase. You want to get to your best guys in your biggest games, and this is the Eagles' biggest game of the season. AJ Brown, he's going to get opportunities. So whichever way it goes, you can become comfortable that he's going to get the level of targets he has been, and you can be confident in playing him. He's going to be popular as well with the streak he's on until that stops. And then Michael Pittman, like I'm not going to try and. I'm not going to talk rubbish here, but I nearly did put Gardner Minshew as my player of the week overall, which I did. He's in my thoughts for this week. I like the fact that he makes mistakes and has to get himself out of holes, which could put some people off. But I think one of the biggest beneficiaries is Michael Pittman. I know we had Michael Thomas, which is a tease for a couple of minutes' time, but it was can't guard Mike. I think Michael Pittman, can't guard Mike, could be a similar phrase we're using for him.
I think so.
The matchup and the safety there. We teased it, didn't we, then, about Michael Thomas. I was going to sort of talk him up as an alternative in the flex, but let's just jump to him straight away. Michael Thomas, 4,700, again, against the Bears. I'm not picking on Chicago, but they are an easy matchup for offenses, or an easier matchup compared. 4,700 is just a really nice price for someone that's in the past game. It's literally Olave, Shaheed, or Michael Thomas. I think Thomas has been so solid this season in terms of the other guys. Olave and Shaheed have been up and down with spike weeks. Yeah. Thomas has just been steady. He's a cash sort of guy that I want at 4,700. It opens up so much possibilities. And then the flex guy is someone that I believe came out last week on the show, Darrell Henderson. I think he tipped him last week. 5,100 at Green Bay. Yeah, it's not the best matchup in the world ever, but I just think that we've seen the volume, we've seen the role he's had with Kyren Williams out. 5,100, it's like a pay down running back 2 potential, or that flex play if you want to just have a solid floor. So they're two guys I really like at a cheap price, less than 5,500.
Yeah, I think Michael Thomas is real cheap, right? Because he started to look like he was coming on a little bit again last week. So, and I think going against that Chicago team, you got to love it. Darrell Henderson, I did not see that you put Darrell Henderson on the show sheet. Maybe some more on him later, Kev, right?
Oh, that's the sort of spookiness we love on Halloween. Or when people listen to this, they'll be like, Halloween's done. What are they on about? Yeah. But we're gonna keep it rolling, keep it onto cash tight end plays now.
Yeah, I mean the tight ends here, I've kind of gone for the same thing I did the last time I had tight ends up here, and it's like there's one guy here. It's Mark Andrews. He's the most expensive tight end. It's 6,800. He's going up against Seattle in that matchup we talked about earlier. He's going to be really good. He's Mark Andrews, right? He's got, I think, the record in the NFL. He's the only player who scored 2 or more touchdown receptions in a game on 3 different occasions now. I think he's basically a touchdown monster this year, and I expect that to kind of continue with Lamar Jackson, the system that they're in. He's the most expensive. And then I thought, let's look for a cheaper guy to try and punt it a little bit and just hope for a touchdown. And then I noticed Logan Thomas is in there for 5,000, or not 5,000, that'd be horrendous.
Whoa.
For 3,500, going up against the Patriots. I think the Patriots will be so busy trying to shut down, Terry McLaurin and all these superstar wide receivers that Logan Thomas might find himself a nice little role carved out at 3,500. If he gets a touchdown, you're absolutely laughing at that price. So I think he's a good value.
Yeah, I think like the state of the tight end landscape, like cash tight end, Mark Andrews is always going to be someone that fits the bill as popular guy, whoever is on the slate, especially in a 10-game slate where it's really, really thin all around. So yeah, thumbs up for that one. Then Logan Thomas, yeah, he's a guy that's been on my radar quite a few times this season. He had a solid game against the Eagles this week. Really nice price. Someone that, yeah, he can easily have a 6 or 60 and a touchdown type game, which if he does at 3,500, it's you're crushing the field in cash. But yeah, a pay down option is a wise move if you're not going right at the top. So speaking of paying up and paying down options, this is a pay up and a pay down option type of play in cash. So yeah, first one, Falcons at home against the Minnesota Vikings. It's going to be Jaron Hall at QB. It's been announced after the Kirk Cousins injury. Even though they've signed Josh Dobbs, it appears it's going to be Jaron Hall. Falcons 3,700. They're at home against a rookie. I think that's going to be extremely popular despite the price and despite that defense not being as good for fantasy as you would think with some of the bare numbers where they've been pretty good against QB running backs and wide receivers overall. They've not had that same level of output as a fantasy defense, but I think they'll be popular, and that's all you want, someone to be popular and playing in a really strong matchup. The pay down option, it's really low this week. The Giants 2,300. They're on the road at the Raiders. All I'm trying to think here is what can the Giants defense do? Can they create turnovers and pressure against Jimmy G, or if it ends up being, or if there's an injury or something, then I like it as a pay down option. 2,300, it's one of the lowest on the slate. It's the position where a lot of it is dependent on luck and dart throw. So if you're going to pay down, there's not many better plays at paying down than the Giants in my view this week.
Yeah, I think those are two really good ones. Like, I mean, Minnesota could be a bit of a disaster offensively next week. And I actually like the Giants. They've got a pretty good matchup there. I don't expect New Orleans. If they go ahead of New Orleans and New Orleans have to throw the ball to kind of catch up, they can lock down Rashid Shaheed there. Yeah, that could be really interesting. I'm really expecting Kayvon Thibodeau to be able to get to the quarterback as well. He's really coming on as the season's developing, so he could be, putting sacks on the board for your points there, and that'll more than make up for it. So I really like both those picks.
Yeah, I think as well the Giants have had, I think the last two games have had double digits on defense despite being pretty laughable at QB. So yeah, interesting stuff. Speaking of interesting stuff, we're going to move on now to tournaments. The main stuff that we do like to get involved in, the biggest earnings you can make out there in tournaments. So you're looking at lower overall ownership percentage. You're looking for the sneaky plays, the unique plays. You're trying to stack, you're trying to correlate. You're trying to be number one in the competition. So I'm going to kick it off at QB. And we're going to rewind it a little bit, right?
It's Lamar Jackson again. I couldn't help it, Kev, right? I mean, for me, he just really stands out for someone. I think he's going to have a really good game. And I think if you put Lamar Jackson in a quarterback, you're going to be really happy this week. And it's quite rare that we double up on these kind of things. But because you're right, it is a smaller slate. I think that's what we're going to really have to do here. Going up against Seattle, I think he'll be good price at 8,200. Then second up, we got Derek Carr. I just got muddled up, Kev. I think I was talking about Derek Carr, and I think it was meant to be Jimmy G.
I just let you go on. It's because it's
right.
Team.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to do it. My point still stands. Let's take out Rashid Shaheed. But he could be a huge factor in this game, actually, for Derek Carr, right? Downfield against Chicago, who, are absolutely terrible. Like as I've been saying for nearly 2 years now, Chicago are a terrible, terrible team. 5,700. Yeah, look for Derek Carr to do pretty well, and he's a big boom bust guy, right, Derek Carr? So he could really help you out.
Yeah, I think the first thing that stands out to me is we're hammering Chicago this week. Last week it was Denver, and that didn't really happen overall. But that was just one of those weird situations with some of the decisions, the weather, the illnesses, etc. But we're coming for the Bears this week. We're coming after them, and I think, Derek Carr is someone that's actually people are still thinking he's playing like he was week 1, 2, 3. He's been on a pretty strong streak recently. He's got 3 definite solid weapons in the pass game at wide receiver. And then you've got the complete unknown of Taysom Hill if he's playing tight end, Kamara in the pass game as well. So there's interest there. And then Lamar Jackson, like we touched upon earlier on in the cash plays. Yeah, we had Lamar in there, we had Andrews in there. I think there's interest on the Seattle side as well. So if you're thinking about stacks and bringing it back, Lamar gives you that option to do stuff in that game. And someone that on a 10-team slate is going to be he's going to be popular, but you've got the option to make the various moves to get a little bit different, a little bit unique.
Yeah.
In that, and a couple of the options at running back to get unique. It's paying down a little bit lower on this one. I've gone for Ramondre Stevenson 5,400 against the Commanders, just on the basis that I think in any given week he can have 5 to 10 receptions, depending on how it goes. If they get behind, which more than likely they will. We've seen that Kendrick Bourne's out for the season as well, which was their best wide receiver. There's more targets to go around there. I just think for a guy that was so lauded in Dynasty and redraft this season, he's not hit the heights overall. Maybe people are put off by him and he gives that lower ownership percentage, but I think really good price at that. Another guy with great price is Chuba Hubbard, 5,000 against the Colts. I mentioned Minshew as my player of the week, a little bit tongue in cheek, but I think it's got the potential to be a bit of a shootout this game,
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard's looked decent. He's overtook Miles Sanders in terms of performance, snaps, etc. I think he can do a lot worse than pay down for Hubbard, 5,000. There's going to be obvious plays, like some of the cash running backs. I nearly picked Kamara in this section for the GPP as well. But yeah, if you're taking Stevenson and Hubbard, it's not going to sort of, you're going to look at your final lineup and be like, oh God, it's not got many stars. But think about what it opens up. You could have a Lamar, you could have an AJ Brown, a Mark Andrews. Take it however you want.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, if you look at Chuba Hubbard the last couple of weeks, this guy, I mean, transformed as a player, physically transformed. This guy is huge all of a sudden, right? Something, I don't know what's in the water over there, but Chuba's not just on the Chuba chops, right? He's he's looking, he's been trick-or-treating all right around a couple of people. So he's looking massive, he's looking big, and then I'm fed up of waiting. It's about time we got back to Ramondre Stevens season, right?
Yeah, I'm such a fool for putting that on the show sheet, but we're going to swiftly move on to wide receivers, and we're hoping that these guys are going to be treats for us this weekend.
Yeah, I kind of picked 2 people. They're not the same wide receiver, but they offer the same kind of huge high ceiling, I think. And he's been a bit quieter for the last couple of weeks, but I think we might see the return of old faithful Mike Evans here going up against the Houston Texans. He's in at 7,300. And yet the Texans, as much praise as they're getting, quite rightly, they're still not the best team, really. And I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should come out with a win against the Texans, or if not that, they'll come out with a good, decent number of points. And Mike Evans, that he is a guy that's locked in for 1,000 yards. He gets 1,000 yards every year. He will do it again. And these are the kind of games where he eats and ticks up that total. So I expect him to have a real nice game going up against Houston. 7,300 for that. Second one, I mean, come on, he plays. Come on, he plays for the Saints, man. Is what he said to that police officer. It's Chris Olave. Coming at £6,300, probably 1/10 of his bill. But he's playing the Chicago Bears. I mean, Olave's not had the best season in the world, but he's talented enough, and it's the kind of thing. I don't know if this makes sense, but like, there's an old adage in like not American football, but like football that like UK football, like, you can score like too many goals in one game, like because you're only going to score so many goals a season. Like if you use up too many goals in one game, then you'll score less over the rest of the season on average. I feel like Olave has done that in reverse. He's not had enough yards and he's not had enough, but I feel like he'll get to those totals in the end. So he's going to have a big explosion soon. So I'm like, is it going to be this? Is it going to be this week? We already talked about the good matchup against Chicago. Like, I don't know if I'm just talking complete nonsense. Okay, does that make any sense?
I think the first thing that makes sense is, yes, we've picked a wide receiver in the cash and we've picked a wide receiver in GP, both from the same team, but that's how you've got to play it a little bit. You know that Thomas has got the safe floor. Olave could be anything if he has a boom week, which we saw last season, where he's bagging a couple of touchdowns in the yardage, and he's got the potential to have these monster weeks. So it's a really interesting one to go for Olave, and just that whole cop situation was embarrassing, really. Like, do you know who I am sort of thing. It's just cringy to watch, but thankfully nobody got hurt in that. And then Mike Evans, again, we must be sort of linked up mentally, because it was only, I think last night I was looking at Mike Evans saying, will he hit 1,000 this season? Is he on for it? And currently he's on pace. We have to see if he stays healthy, but we know he can have boom weeks anytime. Week 17 was it last season? He smashed it. So I do like that pick of Mike Evans. Any given week, he's done great. So love those picks. Mike Evans, obviously an older guy, wide receiver, and you know what? I'm sure it's a love for an old guy here as well. Brandin Cooks, 4,400. He's playing my Eagles. I think obviously all the attention is given on CD Lamb after that 40 burger he dropped this week. Just we know how bad the Eagles are against the pass. They're a team in transition on defense with personnel changes, injuries, new defensive coordinator this season. So Brandin Cooks, he's had his best 2 games this season, the last 2 weeks. It's exposure to what could potentially be a shootout with 2 great teams. It's an easy leverage play against CD Lamb. And if you're doing something like an AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts type stack, he's a bring back on the other side, which it fits within your salary constraints, because there's no way you're doing Hurts, AJ Brown, and CD Lamb. Rest of your team's going to be absolute dog crap. So Brandin Cooks, someone I really like this week. And the second guy, the alternative, Mags. This is going to be your seal of approval on this guy you've been talking about buying everywhere. Like Prime when it was at its peak here in the UK. Everyone was going wild for it. It's Jackson Smith and Jigabri, is a guy that's had a touchdown last 2 weeks. 4,300. Wow. Unlike Prime, that's a really good price. He's playing at Baltimore. There's just so much to like. The price, the game environment where we've mentioned Lamar Jackson, we mentioned Mark Andrews. You could do that stack and easily put Jackson Smith with that. Could have him with Geno Smith and Evan Andrews on the other side as well. So lots of different ways you could take that to get different. But I just love that price. I think it's something that's really appealing. Will it be a chalky play? Potentially. But I do think some weeks, even on these lower guys, it is wise to take the chalk. I think there was that week when Tank Dell went nuts at a similar price where he was expected to. Sometimes you've got to follow the chalk at that price and carry along into the money.
Yeah, exactly. It's like following the breadcrumbs, right? You just look at last week. Who was coming on last week, right? Yeah, it's like the guys on the way. I can't remember who said Hansel and Gretel, right? So that's like I don't know who's who. Maybe Brandon Cooks is Hansel and Jackson Smith and Jigba is Gretel, but they're both laying some breadcrumbs last week, and we've seen them coming on a little bit in their team. So why would that stop, right? They're starting to warm up a little bit, and both of those guys not only under like 5,000, but both of them under 4,500. I think that's great value on both guys.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal. That I do love them picks. Obviously, I love them because I made them, but we're going to move on to tight end now. And actually, I do love these picks, especially the second one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to the DFS show like back to back with the Dynasty show, you'll realize on the Dynasty show we closed with talking about Trey McBride and Taysom Hill back to back. Hey, here we are again because these are my two picks for DFS. We got Trey McBride going up against, a real tough matchup. He's going up to Cleveland Browns, right? But he's 3,700. This is a guy who looked great. Was he tight end 1 overall last week? He's right up there, right? Yeah, Trey McBride. To get him at 3,700, that's an absolute steal. The Cleveland Browns, while they do shut down like a lot of things, if I'm the quarterback, going up against the Cleveland Browns, whoever the hell is going to be playing for Arizona, I'm getting that ball out of my hands as soon as possible. And that's what Trey McBride's going to be. He's going to be close to the line of scrimmage. So I expect him to have another pretty decent game. And the second one, why the hell not? In tournaments, this is like the ultimate tournament player, right? He's 4,700 now, though, Kev. It's Taysom Hill, right? How he still has tight end written next to his name, we'll never really know. But he's in there, 4,700, going against the Chicago Bears. He's going to score a touchdown against Chicago, right? He's not going to not score a touchdown.
Everyone is. According to our picks, everybody's scoring Chicago this week. I love these two picks. Trey McBride's on a tear at the moment. It will be slightly interesting to see how it looks with Clayton Tune there at QB with Dobbs with the Dobbs trade. But he's someone that 3,700. Like, it doesn't even matter if he has an okay game with that price. Taysom Hill, he's been massively overpriced early on in the season. He was still really, really major price. 4,700, he's literally got the biggest ceiling of any tight end, I think, especially on a slate without Travis Kelce. Just the fact that he could run, he could pass, he could catch, like he's literally a do-it-all sort of guy. And someone that, with that price, is going to not be owned a lot. I wouldn't expect it to be owned a ton unless there's some quite crazy hillbillies out there. So we're going to move on to.
Is that what his fans are called? The hillbillies. The Taysom hillbillies. Yeah.
Maybe I've just started something there. But one team I think should be starting is the Vikings in GPPs. Now you'll realize that on cash I did pick the Falcons. I think they are the chalky play. We saw this week though that the Chiefs were the chalky defense play, and the opposite side, the Broncos, ended up being a really strong contrarian play, partly with the weather, but also with the Mahomes flu and just
not a drop of snow on that field.
Just not a drop of snow when it came to game day, but. I just think, again, when people are thinking one way, in tournaments, try and tell a different story. And just imagine, people are going to be off the Vikings. They're 3,300, which is sort of an average price. They're on the road at the Falcons. The Vikings are starting a rookie QB. People are going to be off that defense, not going to want to play them. Look at the split. So the Vikings have been really a lot better defense on the road for whatever reason that be. They've had the best games on the road. And they've had some really tough matchups as well, where they've scored low points in fantasy. Obviously, the Chiefs, they've played the Eagles, probably the Super Bowl teams this year, just saying. I just think there's a lot that's pointing me towards the Vikings this week. it is a contrarian play. And the Zek one's the Texans 3,000 against the Bucks. Just things I like about this home team. Baker Mayfield's a slog it around sort of guy, and that creates opportunities. So that'd be an option. But yeah, I think my money's on the Vikings this week.
Ooh, I do like that, Like, I do think that is like a sneaky good pick. And I mean, Arthur Smith is only getting warmed up, pissing people off. Like, he's just getting started. So who knows what kind of concoctions he's going to make up to, make his team look even more terrible than they have been already. So yeah, you could end up with the Vikings there. And is it going to be Ritter? Is it going to be Heineke? Like, who knows? Both of them are real good at throwing picks. So it's going to be good for the Vikings defense for sure. And then, yeah, the Texans against the Bucks as well. You're right. Baker Mayfield also real good at throwing picks. So that's what you want. You want those turnovers. And when they're so cheap, yeah, you're just relying on bagging on like one turnover, and then all of a sudden you've made your money, right?
Indeed, mate. Indeed. So we've made some amazing picks on this show throughout the cash and the GPP, but we're now just going to wrap it up with our picks of the week. The plays, each of our plays, which we think are going to smash. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone we've picked individually. But yeah, who's your pick of the week, Max?
Yeah, I did not see that you have picked him already on the show sheet. I kind of went in leader and chose him. It's Darrell Henderson, and the reason for that is, I mean, good old Matthew Stafford. He's got a boo-boo, right? He's got a pretty sore thumb. I mean, just as our own wildcard member Lewis Wood said, they're going up to Green Bay as well, where it's going to be freezing cold. That thumb's probably not going to be great. It's going to be swelling up. They're going to run the ball. Like, the weather's probably not going to be great either. I imagine they're going to run the ball. Darrell Henderson looks to me, of all of the options they have, to be the guy that has the most juice, the most, to give. So I think getting him, 5,100 is an absolute snip. He should do pretty well.
I picked him on the show sheet, didn't I, a bit early, so I've got to be happy with that. That selection there. I think, yeah, you've made some great points with the Stafford injury and the weather as well. So we'll give a little bit of credit to Lewis. Not too much credit though, because he's a Rams fan. So
yeah, as much as you can give to a Rams fan.
I'm sure he'll approve that pick though. Of yours there, Max.
Yeah.
And obviously we've not got Ali with us tonight, but I don't think he's going to be a fan of my pick. It's against his Bucks. A little bit left field. I've gone for Nico Collins, 5,800 against the Bucks. I think matchup-wise, pretty decent. The Bucks are a pass funnel sort of team. Gabe Davis had a big game against them last time with a couple of touchdowns. I think big, fast guys have a chance to have success, and Nico Collins is that type of guy. I know that Nico Collins was highlighted last weekend, I think it was, by one of the major accounts, maybe Alex Caruso, and he got called out by Fantasy Receipts when he actually busted. So I don't think I'm in danger of that happening on this show with the DFS pick, but yeah, I'm not going to use the analysis which Alex Caruso did, which was something like Nico Collins plays well on odd numbered weeks or even numbered weeks, which was one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in my life. That was actual football analysis. But yeah, Nico Collins is the play of the week.
Absolutely. The main reason we're not going to end up in Fantasy Receipts is this is an absolute smash. Like, that's the main reason.
Of course it is. It's exactly that, Mags. We have smashed it again. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on X and YouTube at Wildcard DFS, and of course at Fantasy Wildcard if you want to catch all the goodness from within our network. Indeed. So yeah, join us every Wednesday. Also, we do our weekly Money Maker, which I don't know if I mentioned, but I did win it this week. Mags has won it as well. So yeah, come and have a go. Let's push that and try and get as many people in there. Yeah. The more money in, the more money you get back. But yeah, I guess the main message from me here now is thank you for tuning in. You've been part of the goodness tonight. It's been Halloween. We've been trick-or-treating. We're going to be treating you this weekend. Have a good one. We will see you again